While the government's swift lockdown measures save lives. Now authorities are allowing phased reopening of businesses including bookshops and hair salons. The message too is that Greece will be ready for the summer holiday season. CNN's Nick Robertson spoke to the Greek Prime Minister, and Nick joins us live now from Athens. Nick, great to have you with us. What more did the Prime Minister have to say about their hopes going forward?
You know, a lot more, and I think one of the big takeaways when you sit down with this new Prime Minister of Greece, new from last year, he's not a populist like the last Prime Minister, he's a pragmatist, and that's what he points to his success and the country's success in handling COVID-19 so far, that they locked down early before there were any deaths in the country. So far, they've only had 145 deaths and 2,600 approximately infections. That's over the whole period. Compare that to some countries who are doing more than that in a day. So that is significant. I've been to a hospital here, the COVID wards, there are still people in intensive care, but the vast majority of beds in intensive care are empty. The doctor in charge at the main COVID hospital here in Athens, I talked to her, she said no doctors, no nurses have been infected, and we take it almost as a part of the new normal around the world, that if you're in the medical frontline profession, you're going to get sick from this virus. There's a good chance of it. It didn't happen here in Greece. Why? Because the Prime Minister put an early lockdown, a strong lockdown in place, and there was enough PPE for the healthcare professionals. But that big positive success, yes, the Prime Minister feels that he got it right so far, but the next phase, opening up for business, that's a tough one. This is what we talked about. Greece's economy is heavily dependent on tourism, 20% or more dependent on tourism. So opening up means letting in tourists.
Not at the first stage. We are not more dependent than, say, Portugal, or even to a certain extent Spain. All southern countries are heavily dependent on tourism. Now the real question is, will we be able to have tourists come in the later parts of the summer? Only if we agree to very specific protocols. Hopefully at the European level. Let's assume people get a test before they fly out, and then we carefully monitor them, either an antibody test or a PCR test. And then, of course, the tourism experience this summer may be slightly different from what you've had in previous years, with more social distancing. Maybe no bars may be open, or no tight crowds, but you can still get a fantastic experience in Greece, provided the global epidemic is on a downward path. But best case scenario is Greece is open for business July 1st, and we're working towards that. So we're preparing towards that. But of course, it involves airlines, because most people fly into Greece, and very strict but also enforceable protocols.
Can you put a figure on how big you think the economic loss might be, even in percentage terms?
I've resisted, because it's going to be very different. Rather, I don't want to give you a big range, but it's going to be much worse if we don't open up at all for the summer.
You have to.
If we manage to get some tourists, it's going to be better. But it's around 10%. Seems to be a consensus amongst most European countries as what could happen, which is a massive contraction.
It's going to be a very different summer, isn't it?
It is going to be a very different summer, but we hope that the worst is behind us. And again, what I keep as a legacy of this crisis is this sense of collective success, and I dare to use the word pride. Greeks haven't been proud in a long time. For 10 years we were the punching bag of Europe.
Does this change the situation?
I think it has changed in terms of our self-confidence, and also confidence in the state. I'm not saying confidence in the government necessarily, but people trust the state. They trust the experts. The first thing I did was to give the floor to our top, epidemiologist, and he's doing the daily briefings. It's not me.
This seems to be, dare I say, a very strong message for the United States and the United Kingdom, whose track records at the moment on this pandemic are probably some of the worst in terms of death and infection rates.
Well, everyone is doing it their own way. This is the way.
I know, but is there a right way? And does Greece have the right way?
Well, I think there is. I don't think there is a single right way, but I think we clearly did it, at least in terms of the first phase. And until now, I think we've done it the right way.